Welcome to another episode of Fans in Motion, the Ultimate Night Ranger and Rock podcast. On this episode this week, I have Mr. Brad Lang joining us from the BulletBoys. I met Brad when last year when he was performing with a group called Luminare Christmas, which is a production uh, co-produced by Mr. Dave Radley, the front of the house sound for Night Ranger, who's been on the podcast as well. If you missed that episode, go find the episode we had with Dave Radley. Um, but I was talking to Brad Lang, and it's like, I had some great stories, some Night Ranger connections. So I invited him on this podcast. Really, the interview is with LuLu. Um, Tune in and you'll find out who LuLu is right away. But we talk a lot on this interview. I mean, he's a California guy, so we talk about growing up in California. I see that. But he had a group that some of you may know from the late 80s, early 90s, Jet Red. We talk about a group called Heist, which I have talked about on a couple prior episodes of on the podcast. But Heist was a group that put out a record in the late 80s, early 90s, and Jeff Watson and Kelly Kagi played on that. It was right when Night Ranger broke up. It's actually a really good record, but we talk about him being in Heist. We talk about him joining Y&T. He played with Ratt, Burning Rain, which has Doug Aldrich, who was in Revolution Saints. Talks about jamming with Brad Gillis, and also there's some Jeff Watson uh, talk and news involved as well. So definitely listen close for that. Now, this episode, like I recorded it a few months ago, and I've just been waiting for the right time to release it. Now, the one thing I did have is me and Brad did have a bad connection, so I did have to edit this. It did take me a while to edit it because there was a lot of, dropouts and stuff, but I've pretty much edited where you hopefully won't tell too much. But that's one of the reasons why this interview is a little bit older than, let's say, the Kelly Kagi one. So, yeah, Brad's got, and I didn't even mention, just earlier this year, Brad replaced Jeff Pilson and Foreigner for 3 or 4 or 5 dates. So Brad's got a great resume, and he's got some great stories. So, just let the play button just, ride and sit back and enjoy this interview with Brad Lang. Today I'm joined by bass player extraordinaire, an individual I met a few months ago. Very cool guy. I guarantee probably every band he's played in, Y&T, Foreigner, BulletBoys, just to name a few. He's probably more known as just Lulu's handler. Um,
Yeah.
but everybody,
Lulu handles me.
Mr. Brad Lang. Brad, thank you for joining us. Um,
Thanks, Josh.
who's I can see who's up there in the upper corner
It's
there.
Lulu. It's Lulu, my little man. Hi,
So
Bubba.
really this is an interview with Lulu. You just happen to be
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
happen just to be
He's my censor. He's gonna be watching what I'm saying. Might give me the kibosh on a couple of things.
so how do you all right, so that's a parrot, right? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
okay?
A double yellow-headed Amazon parrot.
All right. So is that the first one you've ever owned?
Yes, I was never going to get a parrot. I was never going to get a bird. My neighbors, pals were trying their hand at incubating parrots. They bought several, and this was their first one. And he pecked his way out on the 4th of July of 2002, and it was hideous. It was wrong. Uh, uh, Remember the birthing scene in the original Jurassic Park where they're coming out of the eggs? Same thing, just as ugly, just as wrong. And but I'd been over a couple of times. And about 2 weeks later, there, hold the bird, hold it. Okay, okay. So he lays his head in my hand and starts closes his eyes and kind of starts to purr. And it was just like, oh no, I love him. And and
So,
there you have it.
are they like, are they more like a, let's say, what characteristics do they have? Are they more like a dog or are they more like a cat? Or they got maybe a little bit of both?
They're more like a kid.
More like a kid. So, um,
Yeah, cognitive abilities of a 5-year old, speech abilities of a 2-year old. And he's like, I think the most talkative of all the breeds. I'm not sure one, first or second. So he
uh,
speaks in terms, and he says statements all the time about what he wants, and
mhm.
that kind of. So
So, Brad and I met. I did some social media work for Luminare Christmas, or not Air, Luminar Christmas.
right, Luminare Christmas.
And which for those in the Night Ranger world, you're familiar with Dave Radley, who does their front of the house. Um, so, we
Dave's one
talked.
of the producers of the show.
Yeah, 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 and awesome show, by the way. We will get into that towards the end. I know I've talked about it some on the Night Ranger pages, but met Brad at the show I was at, and very interesting guy. I asked him to come on the podcast, and here he is. Now, Brad, where were you born and raised?
Oh, Central California.
Okay, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sebastopol, a little town of Sebastopol.
so what would be the big city around you? Where did you like, where would like the rock
I
bands
live in
go?
Sacramento now, so San Francisco. San
Okay,
Francisco was I was a North Bay kid.
okay.
Yeah,
So you,
Sebastopol, Petaluma, that area, where Prairie Sun Recorders is. Um, yeah, so there, and then moved around, kind of a nomad. So, but I've settled in Sacramento. Well, I went to high school in Lodi,
okay,
and stuck in Lodi again. As a matter of fact, that Lodi, and but San Francisco was nearby, so
okay.
it was a couple hours away by car. And when I turned 16 on my birthday, I was at the DMV at 8:59 because they open at 9. So I did a lot of road trips to the city because it was fun to
So
drive there.
so were you playing, music at an early age? I mean,
Yeah, fifth
who?
grade, fifth grade. I was in the school band. All the school bands. So whatever school, I was a band jock because
Mhm.
I was in the pep band, the jazz band, the marching band. Anything to do with music, anything that I could, be at school and play music. Okay. Yeah.
So when did you realize, hey, it's a lot cooler to have electric guitar? When did that moment happen?
Seventh grade. My buddy Bruce Beck was playing bass in the school band for the Christmas program, and I went, that's what I want to do. So the
So
next year I played. I was in the 8th grade, and I played bass in the Christmas program. Same song, Old Saint Nick takes a rockin' trip.
so you started
That's
out on what you started out on bass, not really guitar, but more,
on bass guitar. Yeah, no, I didn't learn to play guitar until didn't care about it until years later.
okay.
Writing songs and that kind of thing,
Mhm.
and just
Now is that is that normal? I mean, most times, I read stories or talking with individuals, it's they learn to play guitar, and then for some reason or another, they kind of go towards the bass. Um,
No, I don't know. I would think I was drawn to the bass and so
yeah.
forth. I grew up driving on the weekends, listening to KFRC AM radio, back in the 1900s. And uh, uh, so, there was a lot of Motown and all that, with total groove going on. And all that. So,
Yeah.
and that whole 70s vibe, late 60s, 70s vibe, AM radio, taking a drive out to the coast with my parents, driving from Petaluma to Bodega Bay, that kind of thing. And the car, and me and my little sister would be singing along to all the songs on the radio, and we'd be singing in harmony. And yeah, man. So that's, I think it was more about the songs, and a lot of those songs were bass driven, where the
Mhm.
guitar was, kind of a more of a background kind of thing
Well,
in
especially,
Motown and the
yeah.
R&B vibe. But I
Yes.
was kind of drawn to that, and
Mhm.
well, I was drawn to great songs. I mean,
Yeah.
right now, any song of any genre, it's a great song. I'll love it.
Mm.
It's just
Especially,
got to be a great song.
Motown, uh, pop music always has, you don't think about the bass lines, but if you think about, 60s,
You know
70s,
what? Try to think about the song without it.
yeah. Well, like I tell people, because I'm a bass guy, and like ABBA,
Excellent.
it's like if you want to hear some excellent bass playing, and I don't remember the guy's name, but like ABBA, right? You don't think of bass with ABBA, but those bass
Fleetwood
lines,
Mac or
yeah.
James Jamerson or John Paul
Uh,
Jones. I mean,
or
um, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, but
you
yeah,
know,
those R&B guys, some of the Cool in the Gang stuff,
Cool in the Gang, yes. Uh,
crushing. September, come
yeah,
on,
yeah.
yeah, that's the song. So yeah,
So, what was like the first rock band that you just remember being, hey, this is my band. This is, that really maybe turned a page for you, or, is very influential. Was there a certain band and, growing
you
up
mean
that,
listening to a
yeah,
band,
listening
listening
to,
to
yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. I got my first record was from the garage sale next to me for a quarter for Led Zeppelin 2. And I wore that out. And then I went back to the same garage sale for more. I go, "Do you have any more?" He goes, "No, but I got this. It's Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies live New Year's Eve." Okay, and it was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So those were my first things, and I don't know, I was as I was in my teens and stuff. There's a lot of Scorpions, Judas Priest, UFO, that whole vibe.
Hmm. And it,
So you
and was
know,
was San Francisco, what was your first rock concert? Was that in San Francisco, or who'd you go?
no, it was in Stockton, California. It was what was it? It was Journey in Kansas. Kansas opening for no, it was Journey opening for Kansas. It was Journey for opening for Kansas at the Stockton Civic Auditorium, and and Journey was it right?
What year are we
Yeah,
talking?
yeah, it was Journey opening for Kansas, and Journey was great. They go, "Oh yeah, Greg Rowley's doing some songs," and then, "Oh, we're gonna bring out our new singer, Steve Perry," and he sang like the last five songs, "Wheel in the Sky" and that shit, and I was just like, "Whoa, these guys are badass," and then Kansas came out and crushed them. Kansas was, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
Kansas,
man, they were bad.
I mean, you know,
Anyway, so that was my first concert that I drove to, that I could drive to. Cause yeah,
mm.
right.
So,
Back in the 1900s.
so did you spend a lot of time like around the music scene in the Bay Area when you were younger? I mean, were you seeing shows like at the old Waldorf and all those San Francisco staples there?
I was a Central Valley guy. Like I said, I went to high school in Lodi. So that that was the Central Valley had its own. Sacramento. We used to kill the Shire Road Pub and the Oasis Ballroom and El Dorado Saloon and all those things. And so it had a very thriving rock live community going. So being from Lodi, Stockton, Sacramento was, like the drive north, and there, Steel Breeze, Tesla, a bunch of bands. Jeff Watson's from Sacramento.
Well,
This is where Jeff cut his teeth, as you know.
yeah,
So,
I was going to ask you if you ever had any, run-ins with Jeff, as you were, coming of age in the Sacramento area, and, um,
no. They were
yeah,
no, they were already they came onto the scene and went national fast. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And
mm,
and Jeff was just a little bit before me, like 3 or
okay,
4 years kind of thing before me, before he headed off to the Bay Area. So we
okay.
never crossed paths in Sacramento. He
He
had
was
already
already
migrated.
established and going,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. So, but I've recorded on some of Jeff's demos. Love the guy. Um, um, he just hit me up to come and spend some time at his place and work on some new material. But I had to kind of, man, I'm running everywhere,
well, that's
and
good.
I
That's,
want to get back down to Costa Rica so I can,
yeah,
keep kicking ass on that, getting that done. So,
yeah,
but a bit BulletBoys is busy. This foreigner thing just kind of took that chunk of time. Oh dang,
yeah.
that was killer. Those
Um,
guys are badasses, man, and they're sweet guys.
so, I mean, when you're getting out of high school, are you
When you're getting out of what? Out of
when
high
when
school?
you're getting out of high school, do you know, I mean, were you already looking at the music, being a professional musician?
Absolutely.
All right.
No, before getting out of high school, no, I knew what I wanted to do. I
Hmm.
knew what I wanted to do. I played, after doing that Christmas thing in the eighth grade. A month later, I was in a band, and Misty Island Evil with Mark Lowenstein and Vince Andres. And I said, hell yeah. I was like, okay, this is what we want to do. This is what I want to do. I was
Hmm.
playing with some talented guys right off the bat. I was the new guy. I'd been playing bass. It was for the Christmas. I bought my first bass October 13th, played the Christmas program, and was in a band by the end of January.
Hmm.
So,
So did you,
you know,
so when you're out of high school and you decide this is going to be, this is what I want to be as my career. I mean, do you stay where you're at locally? Did you go to LA?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, well, I joined a band called Knockout in 1980 and something back in, I don't know,
mm,
and right after high school in '80. Yeah, so right after high school, and well, actually, I never finished high school. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um, and then yeah, and just went from there. Just played in bands around the area. Came up to Sacramento. There was plenty of places to play up and down the Central Valley of California, and we
mm.
would go over and play, the Stone and that kind of thing on occasion. But again, there was, you don't have to drive 2.5 hours to go to a gig, when there's tons to do all around you. There you
So
have it.
so you were in, just original bands, just and trying.
Original and cover bands. At
Mm,
one time, I was in strictly cover bands. I just wanted to play.
yeah.
Just wanted to play. Players want to play. I'm a bass player, so I can't go out as a guitarist and yeah, here's my songs and blah blah blah.
Mm,
Do 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 baby baby do do do. You just don't do that,
yeah.
right? So
Um,
so I need a band to play in. So I when there was a band to play in, I was playing in it. Yeah.
now with so you're with these bands in the 80s. Was there a time where um you
Then
know
I joined Jet Red.
is that was that like your first kind of like break, where okay,
Yeah,
this.
that's yeah. We got a record deal. We got a record deal with Relativity Records, same record label that Satriani's on, and they were looking for a mainstream band. They wanted a hit band because they were into like movie soundtracks and so forth, and some bands, but not like a mainstream rock band, rock radio band.
Mm-hmm.
They signed us, and because we had been tearing up Sacramento pretty good, us and City Kid and which is Tesla, and a bunch of other bands in the area. It was a killing scene. So we did a record. We were just about to go out with King's X, and we got a call from New York. Said our VP of the company, that was our guy, was in a head-on collision, and in the hospital, unconscious, blah blah, major injuries. So he was out of the picture. And there was another VP that had another project in the same company, and so everything went away,
Yeah.
went away.
So that was
So
that was kind
so
of probably um your first time with a an unfamiliar story because that's there's a lot of
ah,
bands and that at fault that have
absolutely.
this you always hear about new management comes in and they want their guys and uh so how I mean I would obviously you're
Yep.
probably in your I would say your 20s then um and you get that first break and all this is about to happen and then suddenly you know everything changes. How do how do you deal with that? With it maybe being your first time, like are
You
you
know what you
thinking,
just do? You know what? You keep playing. You just keep playing.
mm,
Then I came back here and I did a band with Michael Froen. We call him Fro. He played on the Lynch Pilson record. He's a Central Valley guy, crushing drummer, crushing drummer. Um, uh, yeah, crushing drummer. And Tommy McClendon, Atomic Tommy McClendon, and he was in UFO for a while.
okay.
And so the three of us had a band get together called Color Scream, and we recorded an EP. And but things, circumstances led to where we couldn't continue. One of the guys had to move.
Hmm.
For it is what it is. A killer, man. We did a cover of what's the Queen song? "Death on Two Legs." Vicious, vicious, vicious. It's probably on the internet somewhere. Oh yeah,
So I mean I know
yeah.
you
Color Scream. That these are you're kind of making me dig through here. We're kind of going through the chronological. Yeah, and then there was a band called This Guy Mike, with some session players from Stockton. And what else? And then Planet Z. Oh man, what else was in the 2000s? Then I played with Heist. I played with Heist for a while. They were a Bay Area band. My buddy Paul Holgate played with them. Actually, Tommy Armstrong, one of the VPs or one of the A&R guy at EMG Pickups, he turned me on to this band Heist, and they were a Bay Area band. They were around the whole time during the Ranger and Night Ranger, that whole transition. So they were another Bay Area band that was all hot at the same time in when Night Ranger was killing the Bay Area before they broke out of the Bay Area.
did Heist have
Heist.
a record in the late 80s or something? Uh
Yeah, they've had a killer record. Steve Rebello, who's in Trauma, he was the other guitarist. He was the guitarist in Heist. Oh crap. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, I played with an incarnation of Heist with Steve and Paul, and
um
man, that was a good
well
time.
I'm trying to
That was a really good time.
find it. I'm trying to
Yeah.
there's a
And then
band
in the early 2000s, I played. Huh?
there's a band
What was the
uh
other band? What was that other band? Oh shit! It was with Courtney and Mike. Fear the Days. I played in a band called Fear the Days with Courtney DiAugustine, who was in Frank Hannon's band, Moondog Maine.
Okay.
Man, I'm just going down the list. This is like a bio.
So, so did Heist have a record called High Heel Heaven? Is that the same Heist?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. That's a good record. I know that record.
Oh, good memory.
Well, it wasn't a very good memory. I had to look it up. I couldn't
That's
think of
awesome.
I couldn't think of the record's name, but when you mentioned that group, I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, and you're talking about, Night Ranger at the same time. I can't remember exactly what happened. I think maybe Keith Olsen or someone like that produced that record. Night Ranger had just broken up, and I think Brad maybe plays a solo on it. I think Watson maybe plays a
Oh,
solo.
probably.
And
Sure. I mean, I'm
yeah,
sure those guys, they all,
mhm,
it's all that circle,
yeah.
especially. So they were in the Bay Area circle and we were in the Central Valley circle, the
So when
Sacramento down to Fresno. Fresno
mhm,
had a crushing scene too,
mhm,
because they were like, population centers
mhm,
around the state.
okay.
So yeah, so then I did War and Peace with Jeff. Did a live record at the Cavern Club in Liverpool. Liverpool, England, where the Beatles played. We recorded a live record on the same stage that the Beatles played. And then Jeff got the call from Foreigner, so that record went away.
Um,
such is such is the business.
yeah. So does it ever get because you're talking about, Heist or Color Scream or like this guy Mike, and I'm trying to write some of them down.
Sure, sure.
And these projects, and I mean, you still have this enthusiasm for them. So I can just imagine what it was back when you're in that moment. Does it ever
Oh,
get
you're writing the songs and yeah, working up the songs and stuff.
the,
Yeah,
I mean, does
that's
it
where the
ever get,
magic happens, man.
does it ever get though, like, um, you ever get to the point where you're just like, because it seems like, okay, you're working on this and then people move, and then you work on this project, and then Jeff Pilson gets called to Foreigner, and then you work on this project, and this happens. Do you ever, wish like for some stability? Like, I wish, I could, these wouldn't be so fleeting, or is it just the nature of the game? And just like you say, you just keep, pushing forward.
Well, I don't. I mean, you kind of go, oh crap. Well, I'm so bummed but you know what? I want to play. I want to play. So,
Mhm.
it's and Winnie the Pooh said, "Don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that it happened."
Yeah.
And when I get an opportunity to play with some of these guys, they're all, played with some great players. And it's like, again, as a bass player, I can't just play by myself. I have to play with guys. So when you play with monster players like Doug Aldrich and Burning Rain,
Mhm.
and Burning Rain, or oh man,
Yeah.
yeah, or Tommy McClendon, or I played with a bunch of great guys.
Yeah.
I play well. I've gotten to do like the Ronnie Montrose Remembered thing. It's a show every year that Keith St. John puts on. He's the singer from Burning Rain. Anyway, actually, Keith is the guy that got me into Burning Rain, and but he does a Ronnie Montrose Remembered thing and he has all these all-star players come in and play a song, and so and from the first year, up until the pandemic, I would go down a few days early and I would rehearse all the guitarists. So I rehearsed with Brad. I rehearsed with Gilby Clark and with Brad Whitford and with oh crap uh, from Billy Idol.
Steve Stevens.
What's Steve Stevens?
Yeah.
And to be able to and the thing is, it's not when you go rehearse it, you want to run the song a few times and chitty chat and hang and so it's
Mhm.
cool. So I've had the opportunity to play with some amazing players, and that's my joy.
Yeah. So, a lot of people, they know you from Y&T.
Uh-huh.
And uh obviously I think it's like what around 2010, original bass player Phil
Yeah, it was
Kinnemore.
2010. Uh-huh.
takes like a leave of absence first. It was more like, back health issues like that. Um, and you jumped in as a, like a temporary replacement.
Absolutely.
How did all that come about?
Mike, I was installing sinks in a house that I was working on that I had, was renovating, and he called me at 3:08 on July 27th, 2010. And I said, "Hey, well, what are you doing?" I go, "Well, I'm installing sinks." I go, "I know what you're doing. You're out on tour promoting your face melter record. What are you doing calling me?" And he goes, "Well, Phil hurt his back, and we were wondering." Yes. He goes, "You didn't let me finish." I go, "Whatever you're about to say, it's yes." So
Well,
So
that's
I was so they put me on the plane the next day at noon. So he goes, let me talk to Jill, our manager, and Dave and those guys, because they had already. So Phil had to go back to the California for treatment, and that was it. And so they had gone through all their buddies that they already knew, Rudy Sarzo and all those guys that they knew already. They played forever. The band started in '74, so so Dave's like Don Nyman and Mike Vanderhul, uh, and Mike or John said, "Well, I know this guy Brad Lang," and John said, "That's who I was thinking," because I had played with John in a band called in 415. I did a later iteration with John and Mark Ross in 415. So I'd already played with John. I forget when that was too,
yeah.
but I got to because I got to fill in for Lee Beverly, their bass player, because he was doing like the General Hospital soap opera. He was like in the house band. I've known John. I've known Mile High days in the early days of Ranger, before before Ranger,
Mhm.
all that kind of thing. And so John and Mike had recommended me to Dave. So they said, so Mike called me. They called me back 4 or 5 songs. I finished installing sync, went home, downloaded songs, went to bed, got up at 6 a.m., listened to the song for, went to bed, got up, charted them all out, and got on the plane and raced to the airport. I was the last guy on the plane, and I flew to Madison, Wisconsin, and I met Dave and Jill that night. And then the next day was the gig. So John came to my room with an acoustic bass and an acoustic guitar, and we ran the songs, you know,
Mhm.
as best I could. Went to sound check and played, baby, played. It was, and it went well. It was a
So,
good vibe, man. It was fun. It was great. It was exciting. I was scared to death.
so you,
There's Minichetti. Oh, and so I'm standing on stage with Minichetti. Just met the guy, right? And I got I got a pick in my hand, right? Which I normally play with fingers anyway, but I thought Phil played with a pick, so I was prepared to play with a pick. And he goes, "Oh, you play with a pick?" And I go, "Yeah, Phil played with a pick, right?" He goes, "No, he didn't." Chuck the pick. End of the pick. Played the show.
so with all these bands that, we're going to get to that you've played with, um, is now are you, and you talk about charting these songs and everything, um, it's one of your things when
Just letters A D
Mhm.
C.
But are you like a quick study? Like, are you, is that
Go
like,
ahead.
is that one of your, like attributes that you're known for? Like where, hey, we need you to come play this, and they kind of know that within, 48 hours you can have everything down. I mean, is that one of your characteristics that you're known for?
You know what? I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's just kind of worked out that way. When I got the call from Dennis DeYoung, I was mowing my lawn on a Sunday, and he goes, "Hey, can you be on a plane Thursday?" And I was on a plane Thursday.
Yeah. Well, that's got to
And they
be,
were doing the 40th anniversary of Grand Illusion, so they did the record front, top to bottom in the first set, and then the second set was a bunch of other hits and
yeah.
so forth. So yeah, it was a little. It's just kind of happened that way a
Yeah.
couple of times.
But it's got
Um,
to, it's,
the thing with Blotzer, that was a. I think that was a quick thing too.
mhm.
He had as a matter.
Um, so how cool is it though that you get a, phone call, 3 a.m., you're whatever you're, installing sinks, and then within a few days you're on stage with one of the greatest rock guitarists ever, Dave Benicchetti.
Oh
That's
man, it was.
that's got to be a thrill.
Yes, it was. It was indeed. As a matter of fact, it was killer.
Um, so
Yeah, because I wore the when the Black Tiger record came out, I wore it out.
mhm.
It was one of the. It was I just bought my first CD player, and that came out, and um, it was on there.
So,
Yeah,
unfortunately, Phil, passes away, and you become a permanent member. Uh, and so you're with Y&T for what, another 4 or 5 years, something like that.
yeah. I was with them middle of 2016. Yeah, five and
Uh,
a half years.
and I think he was on a live record with them.
Yes, yes. Live at the Mystic.
And um, so where do you head? What do you do after Y&T? I mean, do you
Bobby called.
who called? Bobby?
Bobby. Yeah,
Bobby
Blotzer.
Blotzer. So
Yeah.
you know, uh, back then you kind of had, I mean, Rat's always kind of had they've always been a little bit dysfunctional, but back then no
Oh,
one
but
was real.
the
The
songs, man,
they
killer tunes.
Yep. There is no reason Rat could not have been on that Motley Crue Def Leppard tour. They had the songs. It's just there's always much infighting and everything else with them. But so about 2016, 2017, Blotzer kind of puts together a version of Rat. I think at one time it's called Bobby Blotzer's Rat Experience or something. And they
Yeah, yeah,
actually,
yeah. That was earlier. Yeah, that
yeah.
was earlier, I think. And then I got a call in was it July or August? I think it was August. And yeah, there had been an abrupt change in lineup in Bobby's Rat, and they needed somebody in a hurry. And Bobby had already talked with Mitch Perry, and I had played in War and Peace with Mitch Perry, with Jeff Pilson
Hmm.
and Fro. And so Mitch said, you want to do this? I'm okay. So, can you have it can you be ready by next weekend, or I don't know, 3 days? I forget. It was like, okay, sure, sure. I mean, here's the songs, send me the songs. The thing is like with Y&T and Ratt and Dennis Young, all the Stick songs and Foreigner. I already knew the songs in my head and in my heart. You know what I mean? I was
Hmm.
already familiar with their catalogs and stuff like that. And Y&T, I got first turned on to Y&T on their with Earthshaker and all that. Their London Records thing. I'm a mean Earthshaker, baby. I'm a cold, cold heartbreaker, yeah, that kind of thing. So,
Hmm.
you know, um, and
And yes.
so with these fast learns, it was it was more about just finding out where my hands went.
Mm.
I already knew the songs. I already knew how they went, how they sing. I already knew the words, that kind of stuff. But so that helped out a lot. So I've been lucky enough to have been called by bands that I already knew their material and already loved their material. So
And then you
Yeah,
get
yeah, all the bass lines on Ratt, Juan Crocier, killing bass lines. Melodic that went for the song. It was all blah, 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 blah. It made the song to me, like the moving line on Round and Round, round and round, do, 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 do. It's all walking through that. Come on.
and then
So to be able to play those songs with killing musicians, with Mitch Perry and Stacey Blades playing those Ratt songs with,
yeah.
who doesn't want that? Come on, you can't.
And then that ends, and you get a call from Dennis DeYoung, and then
Right,
you're out there doing that, playing all those great records. You talked about
right,
praying,
yeah,
you talked
man.
about playing the Grand Illusion in its full, but
Yes,
I
top to
mean,
bottom in order. It's like, okay, and then he called, and then I had to. As a matter of fact, I was down in Costa Rica. Um, I think I was closing the deal on my property or something like that, and they called, and Craig had gotten pneumonia. I'd already subbed for him, a little while earlier, and so then I had to fly back to from Costa Rica to play with the Atlanta Symphony, playing all those songs. It was like, okay. He calls
um,
me. He calls me on Thursday. I go, I'm leaving to go to Costa Rica tomorrow. He goes, well, it's next weekend. I go, let me get it. Let me. So I flew back from Costa Rica to play these shows, and then flew back to Costa Rica to close the deal and finish out my recon mission.
and and then you did we mentioned it a little bit. You played on the Burning Rain record, which is oh shoot, Doug
Yeah,
Aldrich,
face the
mhm,
music. Yeah,
which
yeah,
most
yeah.
people
And I
right
heard the
now.
demos. Yeah, they approached me about that and heard the demos, and it was like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
It reminded me of like an early Aerosmith, an updated early Aerosmith. And Aldrich on guitar. Come on, man.
Mhm.
Crushing it. So,
Yeah.
so I recorded that record with them, and we started playing. We had the record release and all that stuff, and we're getting ready to go out in the spring of 2020, and going to start off kicking ass 2020 with the Monsters of Rock cruise, and we play the Monsters of Rock cruise, and it's just bitching, and then everyone gets COVID.
I was just about ready to ask you
Come
where you were
on.
at when everything
Yeah,
shut
yeah.
down. Um, so
So there you go.
um, so you got that, and then probably what you're kind of you kind of still have your your hands in a few things. I guess we'll go with uh Luminare Christmas.
All right.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've mentioned it on the podcast before. It's kind of like Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Um, it's probably
More
the easy.
traditional though.
Yeah.
It's more traditional. It's more Christmas songs.
Mm.
TSO has this big thing. This is Luminar Christmas.
How many years have you been doing that?
That started during the pandemic. We were going to go out in December of 2020, and
Mm.
pandemic crushed that too. So we had to wait till 21.
Okay. Um, and then I
I
saw,
think that's right.
yeah.
And then so that's every December. So we
Mm.
so I always block that out in whatever projects I'm doing or whatever from Thanksgiving to Christmas, and which is fine because a lot of guys want to take that time off anywhere. Well, I'm not taking that time off. I'm
Mm.
playing music,
Yeah.
and with a killer cast, Dan Peters from Chicago, and John Blasucci on keyboards from Dennis DeYoung, and
Mm.
he did 10 years in a Mannheim Steamroller, so
Mm.
he had experience in that big theatrical and Christmas vibe and so forth. So it was kind of
Who
a
was the
natural progression.
who was
But
the
again,
dr-
it went with more. He arranged and produced traditional Christmas
Mhm.
songs in a more, orchestrated rock
Mhm.
thing, and with full production and video and blah blah blah, and singers, Pino Farina and Caitlin Simone, those Chicago heavyweights. Because John's originally from Chicago. He's out in Salt Lake now. He's actually teaching at. Is he teaching at Brigham Young? I think he's teaching at. He's a professor at Brigham Young or something like that.
Mhm.
He's got classes and in recording and theory and blah blah blah. So yeah, so that's great being able to play with heavyweights. Sarah Tomek, drummer, she's a Steven Tyler's drummer and played with
Yep.
Samantha. What was her name? Samantha Fish or something like that. Is that
Yeah,
right?
blues guitarist.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yep.
did actually she's on the newest. I think she's on the newest record.
Mm.
And it went out and toured with her. 18 months. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But so she's new,
Mm.
and we really really locked in. And
Yeah.
and then
She
a
was
violinist from Phoenix, Marianne Martinoli. She's with the Phoenix Symphony and does a bunch of freelance work, has
mm.
played with when artists like Lionel Richie or she does a lot of stuff with Smokey Robinson. This is
Okay.
out with Smokey Robinson, I think a bunch.
Yeah.
So again, me, the guy from Lodi, playing with all these heavyweights, it's like,
Yeah.
come on, man, all right.
Well, definitely if you get a chance, go check out Luminare Christmas. Again, usually Thanksgiving to right
Yeah,
around
yeah,
the.
December. Yeah, it's on the
Yeah.
week. Yeah. Mhm.
Uh you get like an arena show like in a theater. Like I saw you guys at the
Absolutely. Yeah, we
um
would do performing arts centers
yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah,
So it's like a big, concert hall with the full on production, and the lighting is
yeah,
crazy, and blah blah blah. And
yeah,
and uh and it's Christmas, man. It's
yeah.
Christmas.
And
Drummer
Rad
boy,
Dave
all that stuff.
and Dave Radley is the producer
Yeah.
and the sound guy for that as well.
And the
So
front of house guy, yeah,
yeah,
makes it sound crushing.
you can say hi to him and talk a little Night Ranger while you're there. Um
Yeah, oh absolutely. Yeah.
so and then after that you get the call to join Bullet Boys.
Bullet
Um
Boys, yeah.
you probably been doing that for maybe a year now, something like that.
That was January of 2022. Yeah,
All
we
right.
just we're coming into 2 years. And there was another one. Got a call on, I think, Monday. Can you be on a plane Thursday to go do the Rock Island Fest? Because they had a fallout,
Yeah.
a sudden member change.
And
So
yeah, and it's got
there
to
you
be
have it.
nice. It's got to be nice too when hey, it's nice when a great group like Bullet Boys is calling you. Hey, can you be here Thursday? But it's got to even be better when it's like, and they're not playing in North Dakota, they're playing at Key West. So that's got to be
Oh
kind of
yeah, yeah, the
that's
Beach Festival. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it
it's
was.
it's
Yeah,
it's
with
got
a
to be
bunch of
nice.
other cool guys. And I run into Brad. Well, like I said, I did the Ronnie Montrose thing with Brad
Mhm.
several times. We would do what is that Montrose song? City of Tears. What is that? Oh man,
Um,
it's an instrumental song. Shit, he's gonna kick my ass now. Um, oh, criminy. Anyway, so yeah, we did that, and we would do that, and we did Voyager one time together, which is a big guitar solo thing, and that's all vibes. So I've had a chance to play with Brad a few times and hang with the one of the best guys on the planet.
yeah, and not only are you doing Bullet Boys
Mhm.
in the last month or so, you've been again doing the fill-in thing for
Oh, with
only one of the
Foreigner.
biggest groups in the world,
Yeah,
Foreigner.
yeah.
And you just did a date with Night Ranger not, maybe a month ago at the
Right.
the big
Yeah.
auction there
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
got
Yeah. In Phoenix, in
in
Scottsdale,
in Phoenix.
the Barrett Jackson.
Mhm. So
The
what's your
cars there were amazing.
yes, they are. If you
Yeah.
don't, if you it's the Barrett Jackson auto auction, which is the auction you'll sometimes see on TV. This isn't your regular auto auction. This is
Oh.
high-end
Oh.
automobiles.
Yeah, they gave us a private tour of the Triple A's that were going up for auction, that were all separate, and the room was nice and warm but
Mm.
not too warm, and the room was 200 yards long, and it was just all. And I'm a vet guy, so we walk right in, and that's where we're in the vet section. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
it's great.
how great do you ever have that moment where, let's say, Foreigner, right? You're up there and you're like, holy shit, I'm up on stage playing Hot Blooded with Foreigner.
Absolutely, holy shit, yeah,
What
and
what
try
was
not and try not to choke.
yeah. So what's your let's just go through some of these groups. What's your favorite Foreigner song that you like playing with the group? What was one that was just
You know what? It's funny because one of my favorite songs to play is "Waiting for a Girl." Yeah, it's just got such a vibe on, and the way it's played live. It's These guys are monsters. Chris Frazier on drums, the groove on this guy. I've had a chance to do some session work with him too. We did an EP at Blackbird Studios in Nashville a few years back, and to be able to spend time and kind of exploring, oh, how are we going to approach this kind of thing, and really working it out, and then we tracked it live. We tracked it together, and but the groove on that guy, he's perfect for Foreigner. He's
mm,
perfect for those songs. Actually, he's perfect for anything. He's one of those guys.
yeah. What about
He
the
did the Steve Vai stuff, and
mm,
and yeah, again,
what about Bullet Boys? What's a song you really like playing with those guys?
symphony.
All right. And what about
That's
let's
all.
go.
It's a song off the Elefante record. But it's a deep song. It's got a
Mm,
vibe. Love the chorus. It should have been all over the radio. All over the radio.
yeah.
Great song. And then doing Smooth Up, and For the Love of Money, got a killer groove. Our drummer Fred Ching, uh, he's got a groove on him. He plays. He's really diverse. Really diverse. He does the Biohazard stuff, and actually he's got a band called Dead Groove Band that's crushing. But yeah, so he's got a vibe on him, man, and he's consistent as hell. One of the sweetest guys too. But
mm.
but his groove and his chops, who we yeah, and then Ira Black on guitar. So here I am.
Mm.
Oh, you want to come play with some more monster players? Okay,
Um,
but you gotta be on a plane by Friday.
yeah.
Okay.
You wouldn't know what to do if someone asked, "Hey, can you play with us in like we got some dates next month." You,
Well,
you probably
that
wouldn't
I
know.
had the luxury with Foreigner. I had the luxury with Foreigner,
Mm,
well, I had already done substitute. I had already subbed for Jeff back in 2005, back east. Jeff was working on a record for Frontiers Records, and for Benedictum, a band from Arizona, heavy band called Benedictum, and he had to finish the record and and had Foreigner and commitments. He's telling me this. We're hanging. I don't know where we were somewhere. And he's going. I don't know what to do. I got to finish this record. If I don't finish it on time, I don't get paid. And I got this Foreigner stuff. And I go, well, why don't you just get a substitute? He goes, hey, you want to do it?
So this wasn't you.
Okay.
So you subbed for him in Foreigner back in 2005 too.
Yeah, because
All right.
I was playing because I had been playing with him in War and Peace,
All right.
recording that live record at the Cavern Club, and so kind of I had already played the songs, but this
Yeah.
was almost 20 years ago,
So
man.
stuff changes, players change, and
Yeah,
um,
yeah, uh-huh.
what?
But the songs. So yeah, so I went down and I went and spent a day with Jeff at his place in LA and ran the songs to make sure I was singing the right vocal parts.
Mm,
They're all stacked up, all those foreigner things, and they kind of add. The thing is, it's a crushing band with killing singers, right? So everybody sings but Chris because he's kind of busy, and so they stack these vocals up and everything's live. There's no tracks. It's it is it's a live band, and these guys are monster players and singers. So
mm,
I wanted to so I made sure that I was singing the right
yeah.
interval in the stacks and all that. And the way, vocals are the wild card. I think that's I've been really enjoying singing with Mark and Ira too. We've been trying to do, a lot of bands, they come out and they just kind of do that, or a guy will stick the microphone out to the crowd to sing the hard part.
Mm,
Mark keeps that mic because he's
yeah.
singing his ass off,
Yeah.
and we're singing together. He's a consistent singer too, so I try to we have fun with it. And as a matter of fact, you know in all these other bands that I've played, here's the song, here's how it goes. Well, with BulletBoys, we kind of get out there and we kind of have a little fun and kind of see where things go on a few songs, and so that kind of keeps it fresh and kind of keeps it exciting, and
And
so
it's got to help on the resume too that you can sing. Um, because I know there's stories in the past of, people vying for a position in a band and they hire the guy who can sing, backup basically. So, um,
absolutely.
that's got to definitely help you, especially with like bands like Foreigner that have those, like you said, layers of vocals.
and,
Um,
and and Jeff and I've done some when he was recording that Benedictine record. I sang some backing vocals on it together too to layer him up a little bit,
mm,
making a record, and we would sing together and we would sing the same note, and he's like, "Wow, your voice! We have the same kind of a timbre to our voices." So it kind of made it easy for
yeah.
the other guys in Foreigner too to, I would sing his in the same kind of way. And when I went in there, I just wanted them to be able to shut their eyes and think that Jeff was there playing the parts, playing
Mm,
it for the song. Players want to play.
yeah.
And the singing thing. So that was the whole singing thing. When Dennis DeYoung called when I was mowing my lawn, and he's all, hey, he goes, let me put it to you this way: anybody can play bass. Can you sing? And I went, and my answer was, I'll sing anything you need, man. He goes, get on a plane. So
Um, what about Y&T? What was one song just top of your list that you loved
one
playing?
song,
One song, man.
Forever, Surrender, uh, um, uh,
Black Tiger.
Black Tiger. The second verse, the walking bass line
Mm,
on the second verse of do 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 do. Come on.
mm. Oh,
Yeah, there were a bunch of great songs.
yeah.
Yeah, I ended up, and the thing is too is Dave would make sure that we didn't play the same set twice in a row, because it was a cyclical thing. We would go do 6 weeks in the US in the spring, and 6 weeks in Europe and the UK and all that whole thing in the fall. So we would frequent the same clubs. They had a very dedicated following,
Mm,
and so we would make sure that we didn't play the same set. That that the
Yeah.
staples were in there, Mean Streak, Forever, that kind of stuff. But everything else got moved around all the time. I ended up, I think, 72 songs that then we would play 21 songs in a set. It was a 2.5 hour set.
Yeah.
And Dave sung and played his ass off every night. Every night. Guy
Yeah.
was great. Every night. He goes a couple of times. He goes, I kind of had a thing. I'm like, please.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, amazing every night. That band was really fun because everybody was out there to crush those songs.
hmm.
Mhm.
uh, um, and like I said, a lot of people know that I help, Jeff Nyman with his social media, and you guys go way back, so it had to be fun playing with, one of your buddies as well,
Oh
in
yeah,
that band.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
yeah, that's the thing. He's been a pal too. Him and I were both construction guys
mm,
and other things guys and so they don't call us the Doobie Brothers for nothing.
did
So
he did he ever get you working?
anyway,
Did he
uh,
ever get you
um,
working on any of his greenhouses?
I no, actually I went and checked out some of his work up in I'm in the Sacramento area, so he built some stuff up in Grass Valley, which is a beautiful area, just 45 minutes north
Mm,
northeast of us.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
No, he's a badass. He's a
yeah.
badass, that
Well,
guy.
I really got introduced to John on a different level with I got that solo record of his, Made in America,
Uh-huh.
because Brad
Uh-huh.
played on it, and I tell the story like I had it on, um, like I'm cleaning the house, right, and I'm like, oh, that song's really good, and then I'm doing something else, and I'm like, well, shit, that song was pretty good, and suddenly
Hmm.
I'm like track six, and like, all right, every song I've heard is
Yeah.
good, and then
They're
I paid,
crafted songs. They're
yeah.
crafted songs. Mhm.
So I champion that record a lot, on
Mhm, mhm.
this podcast. So so give me some of your first Night Ranger memories. When you remember, when you first, heard about them. I mean, was it something like local wise and hey, there's this new band coming out of the Bay Area, or was it
I saw him
something?
play. I saw him. I forget who they were playing with, but it was here in Sacramento. I think at the Memorial Auditorium. Actually, I saw them a few times. Again, they were busting out. They had a new
Mm,
record, so they were playing, and promoting that record, and a strong, strong record.
yep.
So yeah, and you know
Yeah.
they were
Um,
kicking it. With the
now,
vocals, with the vibe, and going out and hanging your feet off the front of the stage. My second concert was Rush with UFO opening for them, and Rush. I think it was their 2112 record, or maybe the run after that. I'm not sure. I think it was, but I saw Pete Way in UFO
mm,
playing Lights Out, hanging 10 off the front of the stage, and I go, that is a rock show, and that is the shit that I'm going to be doing,
yeah.
because I'm not up there to stare at my shoes, man.
Mm. What's
Yeah.
you bring up Pete Way, what's crazy in the Night Ranger world is usually everyone associates, Brad Gillis's time with Ozzy with Rudy Sarzo. But in the last half of 82, Brad did the European tour with Ozzy, and the bass player was Pete Way.
Was it? So he
Yeah.
did so Pete did the European leg. So Pete
Yeah.
and Brad together.
Yep. For maybe a
Oh,
month and a half,
cool.
2 months. So um and
Right, right, cool.
so a lot of people, like, just said this a little segue. A lot of people don't know about the Brad Gillis and Pete Way um connection. So, you talked about doing the Ronnie Montrose stuff with Brad.
Hmm.
You ever had any run-ins or done any work with like Jack or Kelly?
I've I've hung out with Kelly on the Monsters of Rock cruise and so forth. I really don't know Jack. We've said hello in in circles and so forth, but and I'm a little starstruck on the guy because he's a singing bass player and crushing it. So
Mhm.
I think the couple times that we were actually in an environment where we could chat, I was kind of like, I don't want to go up and, mug this guy and
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But like I said, Brad and I were kind of thrown together, in
Yeah.
rehearsals in a studio in LA, Thursday during the day before the show, and each guy had 1 hour. So when we played the song one time, it's like, okay, that's it.
Mhm.
Hey, oh well, let's play it again, and let's, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
they came ready, I came ready, we played,
And
and then
and
we
you
hung out, and then we
and then
chatted.
you mentioned doing demos with possibly, that Watson had called you about maybe doing some demos. How did you and Watson meet and get connected?
Ah,
I mean, I know you're both Sacramento guys, so I mean maybe it goes back a while or Sacramento thing.
my buddy Chris Orberg. They call him Spike. He's a drummer,
Okay.
amazing drummer. He's the guy in the Sacramento Bay Area, and he was in Steel Breeze forever, and he had the microphone arm that was on a mannequin arm on his drum set, and he had a switch that he would push that switch, and that arm would come down out of nowhere, and it held his microphone. And then he would push the switch, and the arm would go back out of the way. But anyway, he was in a band with Jeff,
Yes.
and
I think he played on
it wasn't
one of
Lone
his
Ranger,
records.
was it? Was it Lone
Yes.
Ranger?
That was the name of
Yes, there
the
you go.
Yeah. Yep.
So there you have. So
Yeah.
anyway, so they were in Lone Ranger together, and then Jeff was looking to do some recording and so forth, and Spike recommended me, and I went over there and we hung out and played and we've been pals since. And we share a lot of the same vibe of just life and gone through some of the same tribulations along the
Hmm.
way, and so yeah. But
Yeah.
again, he was just maybe a month or two ago, he was just saying, I've got this stuff, and you come and spend some time, spend a few days, and I can't, man.
Well,
I got shit to do. But
there's
it's this whole Costa Rican project has been pretty all consuming.
well,
I'm
let's
running a
talk about
Costa
that a
Rican
little bit.
crew.
Um, if some of you, if you don't follow Brad, like I said, before I bet him, I don't know, I'm either on your page or friends on your page, and I always liked watching the photos you would post of you have a house in Costa Rica that you're fixing up, and you would, post different
Almost have a
photos.
house. Yeah, built it ground up.
Yeah. So I just want to give a little backstory of the Costa Rica thing. So all these stories
Okay.
about I'm in Costa Rica now. They want me to come, play a show in 3 days. So that's what he's talking about is the house that he built, ground up in Costa Rica that you're still working on. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know where we were going with that story, but I'll let you.
Oh, whatever. That's all
uh,
good.
um, uh, but
Yeah, so that's been all consuming though. So that's
yeah.
taken up all my time. If I'm not playing, if I have a space of 10, 12, 14 days, bam, I'm on a plane because I'm running the job over WhatsApp. So there's a Costa Rican crew there that that I'm basically the foreman and paying um and pardon me. And they start at 6 a.m. every day, which is 4 a.m. in California. So I'm up every day at 3:30 to get a big old swig of coffee, and then get the day started. We do video calls and so forth, and they don't speak a lick of English, so I had to learn Spanish I'm butchering their language, but you know, it's happening, and everything's straight and level and plumb and square and strong, super strong, and it's gonna be good, man. It's gonna be good. It's tranquility base.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and where can people, find you at? Obviously, you can go to Bullet Boys and follow Bullet Boys.
You just
And
go to my Facebook page. It's full, but it's an open page, and you can follow the page, and all of my posts are always public and all that kind of stuff. And if you want to message me, whatever. You could, if you're following me, you can message me.
yeah.
So that's my thing. Everybody's got Instagram and all that shit, and I'm too busy to get all spread out like that. So everything goes on my Facebook, maybe a little bit on Instagram, or both at the same time. I don't know, but I'm an open book.
Um, but yeah, you want to, follow, track down Brad, go to Facebook, follow Brad Lang on there. Obviously, you got Bullet Boys that you can track down, Luminare Christmas. And is LuLu still there with you?
He's right here. He's right. He's just
Uh,
he's just kicking back. He's
All right.
right here.
Well, there's the star of the show. Brad, I appreciate you joining us. Yeah, if you get a hold of Watson, man, go help him get some new stuff out. We always want some new material. So,
Once I get my house built, I'm wide open.
all right. Tell him that I convinced you and that
Yes.
so but I appreciate you joining me, brother.
Thanks, buddy.
I will
Good to see you.
see you out on the road here soon, man. So thank you for joining Fans of Motion.
Yeah.
There you go. Our interview with Brad Lang of the Bullet Boys. You get a chance, go to Facebook, follow him on Facebook. He's got a really great page. He, posts a lot of behind the scenes stuff in the house in Costa Rica. I'll put a link below in the comments. Make sure you go follow him. And yeah, if you're new to the podcast, we're Fans of Motion is really based off of Facebook. Our Facebook group going on 11,000 members. Just go to Facebook, type in Night Ranger Fans of Motion, click join. You obviously go to fansofmotion.com, the YouTube page. We're on all, the audio is on all the big podcatchers, iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. So yeah, track us down, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. All right. All right. Until the next episode, I'll see you later.